And then TJ Reid, I mean, look, he could be carrying an injury. You just wouldn't know. 34 heading for 35, but it was probably the worst performance he's ever given in a Kilkenny jersey, and he was taken off at half-time. And, we've talked about him and how brilliant he is so many times that I think we can call a spade on this one and people not think we have it in for him. We obviously do not, because we talk about him so much. But to me, I wonder, taking him off at half-time, ordinarily with your marquee player, you leave him on the field because ultimately they're going to do something big before the end of the game. But I wonder, was this a case of Brian Cody maybe wasn't overly delighted with how he'd been going, and the first half just confirmed to him, look, I think I've got my answer here. Darren Morrissey caught a ball over him, Dahi Burke caught a ball over him, and maybe he missed two unbelievably easy frees, one from 25 yards out and another from maybe 45. Didn't go for a goal in the 21st minute when, normally TJ goes for the jugular in that situation, tapped it over. And I just wondered, did Cody say, you know what, I've kind of seen enough? But to be fair to TJ, there's always a comeback in him. He's one of the GOATs.
Yeah, the goal chance was funny because I think it was a matter of tapping the ball over for his own confidence, I'd say, or to try and get himself into the game. The potential if he'd went for a goal and it had been saved, and any confidence just kind of drains away from you. And that's talking about like one of the best players of all time. We don't know. There's the caveat of him carrying a knock. He obviously had a groin injury coming into the championship. So maybe it's, a small little setback and Cody's playing the long game and realising that we're going to need him at another stage. I'm not sure, but I saw, a bit of commentary wondering why, TJ wasn't inside the whole time. Why at this stage of his career is he not an inside forward and they're playing high ball down on top of him? I genuinely think, I just don't think that's his role. I do not think that's his role. And as good as he is in the air, horse and high ball into him in that scenario is, I just don't think that plays to Kilkenny's strengths. Look at the All-Ireland semi-final last year where Rob Downey probably cleaned him out in the last while. And, a couple of people saying, why is TJ the one chasing back? Like, TJ operates brilliantly in that space. That's usually what he thrives in. And question marks about why he wasn't inside. He wasn't inside because Owen Cody was going to town inside, and you want low ball going into Owen Cody. So you have two players that are probably diametrically opposed nearly at this stage, and even Billy Ryan was doing well enough inside too. So I don't think it's just as easy as saying a player gets a bit older, horse him in full forward and horse ball in top of him. I don't think that's TJ's game personally. If you look
it
back,
makes the team easy to defend. If this guy is always going to be standing here and maybe he doesn't have the energy of, let's say, Desi Hutchinson to buzz around and occupy two people in a way. I'm not saying TJ doesn't occupy two people for an awful lot of his career, but I agree with you on that point. It's going to be more of a stationary target when you've got a guy who's 34 heading 35.
Yeah, and the question I'd ask the people to say he should be inside, show me the times he's gone to town inside, in the last 4 or 5 years. I just think he operates way better in space, not necessarily even scoring, but playmaking. And we don't know, I don't actually know if Cody was asked, what was the story with TJ. Would have been a fascinating question if he just said he wasn't doing it and I took him off. But chances are, Kilkenny only had about 20 years of benefiting from referee decisions. This is 2019 v Limerick as an example. No sympathy. Asher, listen, the ball is always going to bounce in. Ball is always going to bounce in the other way at some stage. But it'll be fascinating to see whether TJ plays over the coming weeks or what the scenario is there. Whether they're just playing the long game with him and rest him for a couple of weeks and get him back, or whether he was out of form and Cody just pulled him off. But with a player like that, I do agree with you. There's that much credit in the bank that you just would think that they're going to be left on the field, barring an injury. They're going to be left on the field. They're going to play themselves into the game, and they're going to, make amends for a couple of mistakes early in the game.